Hi, everybody. When we have difficult emotions, and during any time of year, these emotions can be incredibly difficult, right? It doesn't matter what we're talking about, what type of year or time of year we're talking about. Emotions can be difficult to deal with, and some of the really big ones, like when we're talking about guilt or anxiety or depression or PTSD or anger or rage or vindictiveness. Just think of this list of words I just gave you. Vindictiveness, anger, rage, guilt, shame, codependency, right? Addiction, right? We have these really difficult emotions that we need to deal with, and most of us don't know how to deal with them, which is why we go into isolation or passive aggressive behavior or addictions themselves, because that underlying grief or that underlying anger or vindictiveness, the underlying insecurity, the underlying envy, the underlying jealousy that we don't want to deal with starts to build within. Whatever we try to submerge grows, it expands, it gets bigger, right? So maybe we're feeling really envious of a girlfriend or a guy friend that just got a new car or a new purse or new jeans or new something, right? And we have this feeling inside. Maybe we have a lot of anger at a past relationship that didn't work out, and it's coming up and it's coming up. Maybe there's jealousy, or maybe there's a lot of anxiety around what's going on right now with money or career or relationships. And all of these emotions can be popping up left and right, and most of us don't know how to do what's called emotional regulation, which I'm going to give you one example. There's 1,000 tools for emotional regulation, but I'm going to give you one right here. And it's funny because I mentioned in a previous video how I have a counselor I work with every week, and last week she took me through an exercise that I will take you through right now, that I take through so many of my clients, but I didn't think about taking it with me, right? And so this is what she said to me. I was dealing with an emotion of frustration and anxiety, and she said, it doesn't sound like you have much compassion for your side of the equation. I said, what are you talking about? She goes, you have a really good idea of why this other person neglected to follow through on the contract that you guys had signed. But we haven't looked at your role. We haven't looked at your side of the story. We haven't looked at, what did you do incorrectly? That maybe you're angry at yourself. Maybe you're frustrated. Oh my God, she nailed it, right? Most of my frustration was that I never got this person to sign the contract. They said verbally, we're good to go. We'll start on Monday. Everything's fine. I said, great. You want to sign the contract? I'll get to it next week. Really busy traveling, not a problem. I've never done that before, right? Whenever I sign a major deal, I always have a contract, and the contract is signed before we started working. Well, we started working, and I brought it up again to this client saying, hey, don't forget we've got this amount of money that needs to be paid. Oh, my God, I'm so sorry. I'll get to it tomorrow. So then the next week came, and they still hadn't paid, and I started to do the session. And I could tell I was frustrated right within. We got through the session, and they didn't know I was frustrated at all. And at the end, I said, hey, listen, if we can't finish this financial thing, or if you need to do payment programs, but we need to do something. This is going into the third week. And they said, oh, my God, you don't trust me? And they went into this whole thing. They were turning the tables, right? So I got off the call, and then I had my session. And one of the things she said to me is, have you been compassionate about the mistake that you made to yourself? And it really resonated with me. I was frustrated at this person for not paying me, but I was also frustrated at myself for not making sure the contract was signed before I started doing the work. So then all of a sudden what she said was true. I had to, first of all, admit my role in it, right? And then I had to have compassion for that role. I had to have compassion for my anger, my frustration with this person, because I had a hand in it. When it comes to anxiety, depression, anger, jealousy, envy, codependency, rage, vindictiveness, all of these emotions I'm talking about, I'm going to give you a really simple exercise. Whenever you're feeling those, write down where that feeling is coming from. I'm anxious about this test. I'm anxious about meeting with the financial planner. I'm anxious about whatever it might be, right? And write it down. Write down. And then ask yourself, can you be compassionate for the next 5 minutes with that anxiety? In other words, can you say, I understand why I'm anxious. I understand why I'm frustrated. I understand why I'm upset right now. Can you give yourself that compassion to step back for a few minutes, to take a big breath and to say, yeah, I've got a lot of envy over that woman or over that guy because they've got stuff that I want. So I've got to take a big breath, let the envy go, and have compassion for myself, that's my natural reaction. I can change it. I can learn to change it. I can learn to be happy for people having things I don't have, and I don't have to have them to be happy. See, it's this whole mind turnaround thing that we can do. But the very first thing is write down the emotion that you're uncomfortable with. Secondly, what role did you play in that emotion, bringing that on? In other words, like anxiety can come from procrastination, right? I had something the other day that I procrastinated on for 7 days, and every day I was anxious about it. Of course I was procrastinating. So when I wrote that out, I said my anxiety over 7 days could have been taken care of in one day had I not procrastinated. So I wrote down I procrastinated, which created anxiety, and then next, I have compassion for my procrastination. I'll do better next time. Right there, we have compassion for ourselves, and with compassion for ourselves, we can move through the guilt and shame, some of the things that we might carry for our whole life, and be free, be emotionally free. Listen, if I can help you, I'll put the website below, talkdavid.com or davidessel.com. Make sure that you're touching base with yourself, that when you have emotions that are coming to the surface, they're actually doing something with them, right? Which we call emotional regulation, not letting them simmer, not letting them get bigger, deeper, and then all of a sudden there's an explosion at some point. Or we go and get drunk at some night, or we go and do something else, spend more money than we have because we haven't dealt with those internal emotions. I'm here to help you. Hope you have a beautiful day. I'm David Essel.